Good morning and welcome to a overcast grey Juma game reserve. As you can see, there are some tracks that are being left in the sand that are going down the road, which we will delve into fairly shortly. My name is Tristan. On camera today I have got Sebastian. There we go.
Morning, everyone.
So Sebastian is saying good morning if you did not hear him. Now, we are coming to you live, like I say, from South Africa, which means that we would love to hear from all of you. So hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and the YouTube chat if you want to get hold of us. Now, I know some of you did hear some incredible things last night that sounded like lions fighting. So we've come out this morning to try and see if we can find any tracks for the lions and see what's been going on. And so we've just picked up tracks right now of what looks like a lioness that is moving down this road by herself. Now, this can't be the same lioness that we had yesterday afternoon because she didn't walk this route at all. We didn't follow her tracks this side. Of course, she might have moved a different way and then come here during the course of the night. But we're going to follow these and see what happens with them. It sounded like there was a serious lion fight that took place. And so let's follow the tracks around and see what happens. It should be quite an interesting morning and to see exactly how everything took place. Now, we're going to head along Nyala Road South. I believe Taylor, who's going back towards where Kuchava and the sticks were last night to go and see what's going on, did pick up a track for a male lion a little further along from where we are. So I'm going to try and just follow these tracks and see if they head to that area. I'm pretty sure they are going to catch up with where she saw tracks, and so we'll try and see where they go from there. Now, while talking about Taylor, actually, she's out and about, like I said, and is ready to say good morning to all of you. So let's send you across there so she can say hello and tell you exactly what she plans on doing to find Kuchava or the sticks.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the gloomiest sunrise safari we've had for a while. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Craig, and we are on Chitwa, like Tristan said, hoping to relocate on Kuchava. But before I can even do that, I've already found male leopard tracks, and I did get some sneaky intel from Brent, who I suppose got it from his brother Dylan, that Hosanna crossed onto Chitwa, went onto Shirombe, but now I want to confirm if those are Hosanna's tracks near Cheetah Cut Line and on Gowrie Main. They come from Chitwa. So we're just going to quickly check here, and if we see male leopard tracks, and I know that it's his, and I think he's actually gone back onto Juma, which should be quite interesting. So we'll just quickly check carefully. I still have to use my spotlight this morning. It's a little bit on, like we said, it's a gloomy morning, so spotting tracks is quite difficult. Quickly have a quick squiz here. No. So where do these leopard tracks come from? They must have come from somewhere. Did they come from this road? It's a bit hard. I can't actually see very nicely. Right, let's go back to those tracks and have a look and see where exactly they go. This is my favorite thing about the morning safaris, is that you basically start clean again. It's like the roads have been wiped clean, all the old tracks are gone. Well, that's why it's sometimes nice to have to be quite windy after the safari in the afternoon. And now the fresh ones are down on the ground, so the search begins. And try to put together what happened last night while we were all sound asleep. Well, some of us sleeping more soundly than others. And there were also lots of elephants. I wonder if he didn't go and maybe drink at that pan. And then the tracks. Let me show you the footprints. Let me find some nice ones. Wherever this leopard was very busy scent marking. What did you see, Craig? Oh, Craig it's like he's using his finger as a wand. Okay, so they were that side, and lots of hippo tracks. So nothing going there. Okay, oh no, there's a safari vehicle coming. Craig, I'm going to try and show the tracks without having to get out the car, and just because I can't be prancing around in the middle of the road. Here's some nice ones there that I can sort of illuminate. So if you look very carefully, those are the male leopard tracks that we're talking about, and they actually go along the road back into hello straight. That's Sheldon, everybody. So there they go. They go. If you follow my spotlight, that very faint light, they're crossing the road. Oh, and they actually go there, and I reckon that leopard would have scent marked up against that shrub. Let's go check. I wonder who it is, and I wonder where Sheldon's going. Who they've found maybe in the west. Hui. Bouncy today. Let's see if we were correct. Did it mark up against the shrub? Sometimes you can still see the fresh urine. Yes. I'm going to now block the entire road. I don't even know what that was. That just fell. Oh, it was the mic that I was holding. Okay. Oh, I can hear hyenas as well. A couple of drips. Sticky. So I'm wondering if this wasn't quite early last night. Did a leopard scent marked up against here? Popcorn. Where do they go now? I don't know where they go. Mystery. Okay, in we get. I think we might give these male leopard tracks a skip because I obviously have a plan. I want to try and find Kuchava, Sticks Pride, see what everyone's up to this morning. Hopefully they're far apart from one another. So I think we'll go back to the last location. We reverse. Right, we'll go back in here. Okay, I think we're going to continue with Gowrie Main and jump straight back into where we left Kuchava and see if she's if we can pick up on her tracks. Let's go to Tristan though and see how far along he's managed. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Let's just go to Tristan.
Don't worry, Taylor. I feel your pain. I've also been struggling this morning with the thing called English and speaking. Now, hopefully Taylor will have some luck somewhere down there, but we've come across the tracks for an entire pride. They're literally all over the road in front of us here, and they are going kind of down in the direction that we had that single track to start with. So it looks like either the Nkuhuma pride or the Sticks pride is here. The thing is Brent, who is busy trying to get to an area to go and try and track Tandy, has also come across tracks for an entire pride running along the sort of northern boundary. So it's difficult to say where or which lines are which. This could very well be the Sticks, and he could very well have the Nkuhuma tracks. I think, though, that these might be the Nkuhumas. I thought I saw a very small cub in amongst these tracks. I just want to double check as we go along. I should be able to see quite clearly when we get to Weaver's Nest if there is a little small cub in it. If it's a small cub, then we know Nkuhumas. If it doesn't have a small cub, then in all likelihood it's the Sticks. But it would mean that both sets of lions have moved quite far, and something must have taken place last night. Now, whether it's that young female that we saw yesterday afternoon got herself into a bit of trouble and got attacked maybe by the rest of, or maybe a pride like this, or the Avoca males found the Nkuhumas on their buffalo kill yesterday afternoon and managed to chase them around. So it's going to be an interesting kind of mystery to try and decode. Now, Catherine, nobody knows where that lioness went. We were the last ones with her, and we left her lying at Twin Dams, just sleeping in that area. These tracks, though, come from basically from Nyala south, straight across the Mulawati, and then straight west in this direction. So these are not tracks that are coming from the southern side, which means that maybe that lioness went south and she managed to get away. Also, what she could have done is gone south, turn north, and then have a situation where, you know, the rest of the pride caught her in these areas, or the Sticks saw her in the south and pushed her to the side. Difficult to say. We're going to have to try and just follow the tracks and try and see what we can find. At the moment, there's no real sign of any altercations or any sort of fighting in the tracks. I haven't seen any scuff marks on the roads or anything where they've been running. These lions are just walking. Brent says the tracks that he had earlier of lions running down the boundary, so I wouldn't be surprised, although let's just see here quickly. This looks more like they were just lying down and sleeping. So here's where they've been sleeping on the road, which means that these lions weren't too worried about what they were doing. You can see that's kind of disturbance on the soil and a few tracks around it. That's a lion that is just having a rest and having a little nap. It's not a lion that is being pursued and is running around. Now, I wonder if these tracks don't go up towards the buffels or cut line. It'll be interesting to see. Just have to, like I say, follow them through and see what we get. Now, if it wasn't enough that we had leopard dramas all over the place, we've now got lion dramas too to worry about. It seems as though the Birminghams need to start perking up a little bit and coming back north. But they're just following a routine that literally every single coalition that I've seen in this area follow. We've had, you know, the Majingalans. They went south, Mapokos went pretty much, I suppose Mapoko was covered everywhere, but the Majingis came in from the north, went south, Matimbas came in from the north, started pushing south, and now the Birminghams are doing the exact same thing. But the problem is the Birminghams have left this area very, very exposed is probably the best way to put it, and That means these Avocas have got free reign at the moment, so the Birminghams need to catch a bit of a wake up and come back north again. They were yesterday about 26 kilometers to the south of where we are now, which is a very, very long way away. And so hopefully we're going to have a situation where they are going to come back this side and protect all the cubs that they've now managed to father. They were doing very well in terms of raising of cubs, and so hopefully we can get a situation where they will kind of come back and protect all of them, and we'll have a situation where we'll actually have the cubs be safe, because it's enough to have just drama on the spotted side, not let alone on the tawny side of the cats as well. But these lions are still going straight down the road, so I'm going to keep going with these, see where they head and what actually transpires with these tracks. And while I do that, let's send you back across to Brent Leo Smith and see now where he is and what his plans are for the morning, and see if he's in a fine fettle mood to start the day.
Well, good morning, good morning. What absolute drama is happening this morning. It's a true soap opera out here with the lions at the moment. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have Dangerous Dave, the dimpled dish, on camera, and obviously I've got Herbie keeping us safe. So we were actually going to head to the last spot, saw Tandy. So we managed to find Tandy off-road yesterday, but she went down into a little Timberti thicket. We weren't able to follow. So we want to go have a check there. But just because of all the lion noise last night, the fighting, the lack of fornicating, if it's the three Avoca males coming through, Tristan's got tracks down there, and while we were heading towards Tandy, we found tracks of lions dashing all over the place. So there we go. Whoopsie, there we go. So that's a lioness. There's at least 3 lionesses here. So I wonder if the Nkahumas haven't split while being chased by those Avoca males. So we decided these tracks are so fresh, we're going to have a quick look around here to see if we can help with the lions and try to figure out, because Tristan's quite far away from us. And then we'll probably head to Tandy, or the last area of Tandy, if we don't have any luck with these lions. We're right on our northern boundary, so let's go have a look. Jilly would like to know, what is the difference between tracking and trailing? In my personal opinion, if you can't trail, you can't track. So it's a new thing that's come about in the last couple of years, where you have track and sign rather than tracking, where you have a test where you identify the different tracks of animals out there, and trailing is what I call tracking. It's finding lion tracks, getting on them, and finding the cats at the other end. So there we go, see. Now, when there's low light, it can be quite difficult to see, but we're on them. So tracking and trailing, for me, are exact same things. You can see it's quite hard substrate here, so it's a little bit more difficult. So we're going to just go slowly and make sure we don't miss any tracks. Now, when trailing, the trick is to not only be able to spot the track, but also keep your head up. Otherwise, you're going to... and that's the end of you. So you've got to be able to be aware. You've got to use your ears. I'm listening. I've already heard guinea fowl making a noise there, but I've decided guinea fowl are just talking. They're not alarm calling. So you've got to be able to do lots of things. So while you're doing that, and Herbie's up ahead. He's on the tracks already, but it still means, especially with the amount of nonsense that went on last night with the lions, that there's a very strong possibility that there could be single lionesses all around. And you've got to remember, the lions are going to be stressed last night if they had a fight with those Avoca males. So we've got to be quite careful on how we walk. Now, one would think that I'd be worried about the lions attacking us because of all the stress last night. I'm actually more worried about them running away from us. So when lions are under pressure, they tend to be very skittish. So I don't want to scare them, so we're going to go very slowly, very carefully, see if we can find these lions. While we continue to track these lions, Tristan has found a large grey bottom that's distracting him from his tracking.
I have indeed. So we've got a big bull elephant that was standing in the road and has now decided he's going to go off-roading and into some thick vegetation, which is I suppose par for the course if you're an elephant is where your food is. You're not going to sit on the road for too long if you can find all that food inside there. You can see the obligatory fork-tailed drongos following in behind the elephant, trying to hawk off any little insects that this elephant may be disturbing as it moves through the thickets. Now, this big bull was kind of on the road, and the lion tracks literally turn off just before this bull enters the road. So I wonder if maybe the lions haven't gone because they saw an elephant and they've kind of gone through this thicket and are following a very similar path to what the Ellie is following. But we'll just have to find out. Unfortunately, our Ellie's going into a horrible, horrible place. I'm going to try to just go forward a bit because the road turns slightly and we might get a bit of a better shot of him kind of going through. He's got interesting tusks, this elephant, actually. He's got tusks very similar to that of a female. So quite long, slender tusks. They're not very thick at all. And normally you find with males is that their tusks get quite sort of thick and large and bulky, whereas this guy looks like has got very slender, narrow, pointy tusks, which is very typical of females. Now, let's see, there should be a gap somewhere here behind this termite mound. Seb, are we going to win here? It's going to be brief, but we're going to win at least a little bit. So there we go. You can see what I was talking about with those tusks. They're not quite... No, don't go there. Hold on, Seb. Let me go back a little bit and try. See, he's trying to push the marula to try and shake down any of those last few marulas that might be on the tree. Now he's using his whole body to kind of brush up against it. Are you going to use your bum to push the marula? No. You're going to turn around now and let's try go back a bit more. Sorry, Seb. There we go. The whole tree is being pushed. It's amazing the strength of these guys. They kind of put their heads up and then they just hit it a little bit. And you can see that whole tree was wobbling. It's kind of, leaves are still moving. The branches are moving. And there obviously is no marulas, because if he did that at all, marulas would start to drop. And the fact that nothing dropped, you can see he's now ambling off towards the next marula tree to try and go and push over and to try and get, well, not push over, but to try and shake down for fruit. But we're not going to follow him through there. It's very dense, very thick, and he seems to be on a mission of his own and looking for breakfast, so I don't want to disrupt him at all. I'll try and leave him to do his thing. It's, like I say, that block there is not very friendly at the best of times. You can go through there with cats and it's a bit of a nightmare going round and round in circles and trying to get through all of those thickets. And so if a big elephant bull is inside there, best just to leave him and let him carry on. What we're going to do though is we're going to circle around and try and see if these lions come out on the other side. I wonder if this is not the split from the Nkuhuma pride then, because we have mostly youngsters in this pride. It looks like at least 2 adult females and maybe 1 male in this group, and then there's a whole bunch of little cubs inside here. So I think maybe we've got the sub-adults from the Nkuhumas, and then maybe the other 2 females, and Brent's got the rest on his side. I'm not quite sure. I don't know how his tracks look, but we definitely have sub-adults in this, and so it could still be the Sticks or the Nkuhumas. I haven't seen that little track again, so I'm interested to just kind of check. But the fact that these tracks cut north towards Zoe's would indicate probably more likely Nkuhumas than anything else. Sticks generally from this area turn back south. They don't come north too much from here. But I'm interested in the movement of these lions from last night, because it seems like everybody's going west, so something must have happened on the eastern side that caused everybody to all of a sudden shift and move westwards. We obviously know the Nkuhumas were on a kill, so I'm pretty sure they got chased off by those 3 males. It can only be the only feasible explanation, as they had a big buffalo bull, so they would have never finished that in one day. So they had to have been chased off, and I'm pretty sure as soon as they saw other males, they would have run as quick as possible to try and get away and to try and protect the cubs as much as they could. And maybe that's where this audio has come from for lions fighting, is from that situation. I'm just looking here. No tracks of lions coming down the road. So, Caitlin, the Avoca males come from the Timbavati area, which is north of us, so same area that the Birminghams come from, and there are 3 of them. And so I've yet to see them myself. I've seen photos of them, but there's only 3 of them, and so theoretically the Birminghams should be able to dominate them quite heavily in the fact that they're older, stronger, bigger males. but the Avocas obviously are here and the Birminghams are not, and so you can't dominate something if you're not around. It makes it a lot harder, so we'll just have to see how this all plays out. I have a feeling that the Birminghams will come back with a vengeance and the Avoca boys will be sent packing, but you can never be too sure with these things. Sometimes it's a weird thing. The lions find other prides further south and then they just spend all their time down there with the cubs and they forget about the northern side, and by the time they come back there's already these bigger these males that have started to sort of ingrain themselves in here and start to become territorial, and it becomes very difficult for them to push back. And they also just, I suppose, kind of find new areas and new prides, and then it's, dominate down there and they forget about where they've come from a little bit. But we'll see how it goes. It's going to be one of those uneasy, sort of nervy times in the lion world again, until the Birmingham show up and either chase them off or don't come and these Avocas establish themselves. It's going to be a bit of sort of touch and go, and it's much like the Birminghams did when they first came in. I'm sure everybody remembers when the Matimbas were mighty in this area and the Birminghams slowly but surely just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and eventually got in. The difference with now is that, the Matimbas were kind of not past their prime, but they were on the older side of life with young males, and then there was a massive numerical advantage with the Birminghams being 5 and the Matimbas only being 2. Now, here's tracks on the road. So, Lynn, the Avoca males are now apparently around 4 years old, as far as I understand it. I mean, I'm not 100% sure. We don't know them very well at all, and as I said, I haven't personally seen them. So, when you don't see a lion, you kind of don't take too much interest in it until they start becoming into the area. So, as far as I understand, he's about 4 years old, but I mean, I could be wrong. I'm sure somebody will be able to tell us. I'll try and find out from the guys in the timber party what they think. But there is tracks for one lion going south. Now, the rest of them I would have thought would have come out somewhere here where we are now. So the route that they were kind of following was pushing up into this area and kind of heading down here. Now, what are all of these? No, it's in fact actually not a lion walking here. This is a male leopard that's walking south down here. So Hukumuri must be around as well. So, Ashlyn, it's just a coincidence. It's not always that the big cat disputes happen around the same time of year and that the leopards and lions are in sync at all. It's just a situation where we've gotten, I suppose this is how some things go sometimes. The lion tracks are going now. So, looks like Hukumuri's track's going south, lion track's going up. But yeah, just a coincidence. We've had a situation where, the leopard world has been turned upside down by Tingana kind of not being himself, and the lion world, well, the Birminghams are just shifting and pushing and expanding their territory, and that's allowing an opportunity for younger males to come in. Now, these lions were on the road. They seem to have cut off further. No, they're still here. I can still see their tracks moving. It looks like they might have been chasing some zebras around here, because there's lots of tracks for zebras as well. Right, now our puzzle is becoming complex and full of many pieces, but Brent Leo Smith is on his feet and is busy decoding them and sorting the puzzle pieces out. So let's find out what he's managed to find and see.
So we've been following the tracks of what looked like a sub-adult and an adult. Now all of a sudden, out of the bush, a whole bunch of other tracks have arrived. It looks like the pride has joined up here not too long ago, probably 3 or 4 hours. You can see the lion is laying here and gone to the loo. And if we dig down, it was a big one. But you can see it's still very wet, so a couple of hours old. So they shouldn't be too far away. And if we look carefully, so let's go this one here, David, under your feet. You can see there's not much drying on the edges. So, let's just say, quite fresh. These lions are close by somewhere. Now, of course, if they were chased by the males, they could have moved very far in a very short time. But it looks like from what likely happened last night, because the Nkuhumas were on a buffalo kill, is that they might have had some hyenas come harass them, or the wind changed, and the Avoca males were probably about 3 kilometers from where the Nkuhumas were. or they might have even heard them. That's exactly what happened. They heard them fighting over the carcass. So they charged in, and the lions have run here, and from what we could see and from the tracks Tristan had over there, that they bombshelled as those male lions probably just went straight in there to steal that buffalo kill. Now, as I say, we were following two tracks of 2 lions. Now, there's a whole bunch. No, we can't be certain the whole pride's here. We do not know if those male lions managed to catch 1 member or 2 members, but there are a lot of lions here now. So it seems like they've regrouped, and they've felt comfortable enough to have a really good sleep. Because if we look here, you can see on the road there's been a lot of lions sleeping here. So we're now just trying to figure out which direction they've gone from having their nap here. We're quite confident they haven't gone back into Buffalo's Hook, well, not in the direction we've come from. So it's quite likely they could be around Sandy Patch and Parla Plains. So we're gonna keep on these lion tracks for now, because I really, really want to know what happened last night and try to figure out if we can find the lions. How many are there? Are there any missing? Are the Avoca males still trailing? Which is unlikely. They're probably still on that buffalo carcass if they stole it. Now, the interesting thing is I found out the Birmingham males are about 27 kilometers to the south on a place called Mkombe, which is between Sabi and Londolozi. So a long, long way away, probably too far to have heard this commotion last night. But will the Birminghams come back? Will they decide the central Sabi Sands is a better place to be? We're going to have to find out in the next couple of months. Let's keep moving. Oh, Rebecca. Rebecca's making me laugh a lot this morning. Rebecca cannot say Avoca. I keep getting the avocado males. They are not the avocado males. They are the Avoca males. Avoca is a farm in the Timbavati. And Anne-Marie was wondering, sorry, why the Birminghams are taking so long to respond. Well, at the moment, they're busy. They don't really have any threats down in that central, western and eastern Sabi Sands. The biggest male coalition down there is 2, and they're in their prime. So there's a lot of female lions there. So I think they're just sort of stretching. If you look at a lot of the other lions, coalitions, the Majingis, the Mapochos, they did their time up north and then moved into those central areas, spending less and less time right up in the northern Sabi Sands. So it seems to be an active corridor for new males coming in. And so we're going to see. Now, the Mapocho from a long time ago, we're going to just start walking on these tracks slowly. The Mapocho from a long time ago, there's lots of theories about where the Mapocho come from. The most common theory is that they are from the Sparta Pride, also called the Ifield Pride, which is on Londolozi Mala. I don't think they are. Having worked there at Singita and Londolozi in that area. I mean, I first saw the Mapocho when they were about 3 years old, when there were still 6 of them. And I do not think they came from that Sparta Pride. I think they came from Kruger. Then they moved through. We saw them when I said they were about 3 years old at Singita. Then they went up into Ottawa and then up into the northern Sabi Sands before coming down. The Birminghams, the Majingis have all come from the north in and then down to the centre and then settled as they get older down to the centre. Tristan was joking yesterday. He said the western Sabi Sands is like an old male lion retirement home. And so the Majingis has been around for about 8 years, which is incredibly impressive. For those of you wondering, when I start drawing on the line and the sand with my stick, it means I've seen a track. And if we lose the tracks somewhere else, it's much easier for us to come back and find them. JM Chen says, is it safe to wear flip-flops on safari walk? It is. Unfortunately, well, there's a bit of a funny story to why I'm wearing flip-flops. So I actually, when I'm not at work, I walk in the bush tracking all the time. I'd never wear anything apart from flip-flops. I'm very against closed shoes. Sleeping here again. But the reason I have it is I tried to buy some sandals in Hoedspruit the day I was coming in to work. They don't have any size 12. So Jamie is kindly found some for me in Johannesburg and is having to post me shoes because I left my boots in Kenya. But yes, it is safe to wear flip-flops. If you're feet are like old leather, like mine. I've been barefoot for the majority of my life, or in sandals or flip-flops. So, yes, it is. Okay, so we've lost the track. Okay, so there's just been a Franklin alarm, and very, very stressed. So I was going to send you across Taylor, but we're just going to have a quick poke of our heads into the bush here. The lions could be right here. So I'm keeping very quiet so I can hear if the lions get up and start moving through the grass. It could, however, be a slender mongoose, but it's worth checking out. Can't see anything. We're about to go through some quite thick stuff where Dave's got to maneuver his aerial. So what we're going to do is send you back across to Taylor while we try to get a little bit closer into these thickets.
Look at what we've got. It was quite interesting. There's this lizard caught my attention. I couldn't work out what was poking its head out of the termite mound as we were driving down the Chitwa airstrip. It looks like a rough scale-plated lizard, a rough-plated scaled lizard. A rough scale-plated lizard, that one. I always get tongue-tied and confused. But it's quite a big creature. They're not particularly small. I mean, at first I thought maybe it's a mongoose, a strange-coloured dwarf mongoose, because it's not like we didn't see an interesting morph of them up in the Mara Triangle. So it's obviously its home in there, its lair, and it's deciding whether it's warm enough to come out for the day, or perhaps it's just going to spend the morning around the mound. I don't know. If the sun pokes through, it could be quite warm, and then it'll be happy because all the little critters that it likes to eat will come out, and it can come and eat them. And I thought that was quite cool to stop and have a quick look at it, because we're horse with Brent. Hopefully he finds those lions, and it'll be quite interesting. And then you can get Tristan on in there too. Now, my only concern about Brent walking around barefoot is that I don't think his old leather feet are immune to the fangs of a snake. But, you know, he's an experienced bushman, so we'll just let Brent do his thing. For everybody else, rather wear shoes. It's good to wear closed shoes. Hey, Craig. Especially thorns. Sure. The amounts of acacia thorns I've had to go through my shoes and into my feet was not nice. Venus, you're wondering if there's any danger? Yeah, plenty. All the dangerous snakes in this area. And we've got the black mamba. We've got boom slungs. We have got Mozambique spitting cobras. We have got stiletto snakes. Those are all very venomous snakes, so we want to be avoiding those ones. Puff adders, fastest striking snake in the world. So they've got lots and lots of them. And then we've got a whole bunch of snakes that aren't venomous and that are, well, not venomous to you and I. Maybe give you a headache if they bite you. But unfortunately, we don't often get to see the snakes. We see their tracks and their skin that they've shed. Otherwise, it's just occasionally that we see them. I've seen a couple of puff adders since I've been working for Wild Earth. The other day we had a really cool boom slung sighting. A boom slung sighting. I'm gonna have to go red lorry, yellow lorry to try and get my words to come out properly today. I'm very tongue-tied this morning. So yeah, what else have we seen, Craig? I haven't seen a python since I've been here. I saw lots of African rock pythons down in the south of the Sabi sand when I was guiding down there. But I think the snake that I've seen the most is squirrels, Craig. You see this marula tree? There's that really tiny little branch that comes off down to the left. There's two there. There's actually a number of squirrels living in that marula tree. Oh, what are you guys doing? Ah, good morning. What are you doing? Just keeping one another company. You're in an interesting position, as you can see. We shall now watch what happens, but they could also just be cuddling to keep one another warm. That could also be the case. That one in front looks like it's frozen. Like it hasn't quite warmed up for the morning yet. And marula trees are great trees for squirrels because at the moment it's the favorite thing that they're feeding on, are the nuts. And apparently they're quite itchy too. Oh, there we go. I'm going to help you. That's probably what they were doing. Just grooming one another. Oh, there's a third squirrel. It's a squirrel party. Pile of squirrels. First thing in the morning, that's a great way to start your day. And I'm pretty sure I even saw some more running around, so maybe we'll have a fourth one joining shortly. Having a little grooming session. It'd be nice. Yesterday morning we spent quite a bit of time with a pair of Wahlberg's eagles that were assisting one another with removing of old feathers and parasites. And this morning we've got squirrels doing exactly that. I can't imagine all the little parasites that they would have living on them, because remember they do live in holes of trees. And if they stay in the same spot for a very long time, eventually that sort of nest that they've made will accumulate lots of parasites. So they might have to fumigate and go somewhere else while they wait for all the mites and things to die before moving back in. Or they can just spend quite a large time of their day helping one another reach those spots that they can't get. It's really quite nice to see. Come on, join the circle. The one on the right is silly. You should get on in the action. Very itchy. Oh, there's another one. See, I told you, there's lots in this tree. This is squirrel heaven. Those look like little ones, in fact. Pradeep, who's only 6 years old, you think that this is amazing? Even me. I think this is fantastic. This is really, really lovely. I think those are two little ones moving around up on the right there, because they seem to have all the energy in the world bouncing from branch to branch. Well, they're just hiding behind their leaves, or may have even dropped down. Quite a cool jungle gym, though, to have a marula tree as. Mom and Dad. I'm sure this is Mom and Dad. That's so cool. It's like they're frozen, really like they're frozen, enjoying it so much in a trance-like state. It's like when somebody plays with your hair or gives you a massage. You can't do anything anymore. You become helpless. Well, not really. Scratch, scratch, scratch. And they've got fairly sharp claws too. Here we go. That one's giving her a massage now. Yeah, so that was the male. And the female is the one that is scratching now by the looks of it. Little family outing on a Wednesday morning. Clean your tail as well. Make sure there's no little goodies holding on there. Very itchy. Oh, they're done now. Oh, that's so cool. We don't often get to see the squirrels sitting so still either. Very nice. Ooh. Now, Eagle Sprout, you're wondering if there's any flying squirrels in the Sabi sand? No, there aren't. However, I've seen those squirrels leap from branch to branch to try and get away from young Hosana and Shongile when they were much younger and chasing after squirrels. So they kind of look like flying squirrels, but technically they aren't. They're just fleeing for their life, and you'd be surprised what animals can do when they need to get away and their life depends on it. That was a really lovely sighting. Goodness, lizards, squirrels. And we'll go and see what else we can find. We're going to keep having a look for Kuchava. I think she may have actually crossed out and gone into Torchwood. So we're just still scratching around. But I'm going to send you to Brent to see if we can find out what ruffled the feathers of those franklins.
Well, unfortunately, Tristan, as I said, we've been working with Tristan to try to find the lions, and their tracks have crossed into Sibambili. So what we're going to do is we're going to head back towards where we left our tracking vehicle, and we're going to drive down towards where the last position of Tandy was, and then see if we can find any fresh tracks of her. But in the meantime, I have one thing to say, and I'm going to say it after I've answered Juliana's question. Juliana, how can you Jan wants to know, how can you distinguish between alarm calls and chatter? Now, with a lot of animals, it's quite easy. Impala, kudu, nyala, your antelope species, waterbuck, wildebeest. Alarm calls very easy to discern. That's either a or and it's very, very distinct. Also, monkey alarm calls very easy, as well as baboon alarm calls. Now, where the trick comes in, it's with birds and squirrels. So those are probably the two most difficult to discern. Now, I've spent a lot of time listening to different squirrels and trying to discern which one is, because they also have different alarm calls for birds, lions, leopards. They have different alarm calls. And I am finally getting the hang after, 17 years of the squirrel alarm calls. So we've got a good friend, Renius Mhlongo, who can speak squirrel. He can tell you almost exactly what the squirrel's alarm is. Oh, no, that's a bird of prey. Oh, that's a leopard. Let's go there. But I'm not quite there yet. But I can definitely, normally within 30 seconds of finding the squirrel and looking at it, see whether it's alarming at something up or down. And more specifically, and I've got very good at dismissing squirrels as what's chatter and what's not. There's a pitch and a regularity of the squirrels that tells you whether it's an alarm call or a squirrel argument or just a squirrel conversation. Now, Taylor was saying that I must be careful for snakes in my flip-flops. Well, you see, Taylor, if you stomp around the bush like an elephant, then you definitely need to be careful for snakes. But if you walk quietly like me, you're completely fine. Now, one of the reasons I don't like wearing heavy boots when I'm walking is purely for that reason. Why I normally wear sandals or very lightweight shoes is I'm able to walk a lot quieter than most people and make very little noise, which really lets my ears do their job to listen carefully for alarm calls or low contact calls or anything for that matter, an elephant stepping or an elephant urinating, and that type of stuff keeps you safe in the African bush. And also, if you're walking quietly and you walk softly, even if you do step on a snake, which in my whole life I have never done, the snakes, you don't hurt them too much. And quite often people will step on a snake, and it's only when people are sort of, that's when they get bitten. But if you're walking quietly and softly, you're normally okay. So we think this is the path that the lions came down. Yeah, so here we go. This is where all the lions went, towards where Tristan was following them. You can see the tracks here. Okay, well, let's go back across to Tristan to see what his plans are now that the lions have done the vanishing act.
Well, our plan probably now is just to head back towards where we had those hukumuri tracks and try and get onto those. It's kind of par for the course with lions is that you have that always in the back of your mind, that you're going to unfortunately track them all the way out onto the other side, especially if they've had a little altercation with somebody else. But in the meantime, we're going to distract ourselves with beautiful birds and a rather vocal fork-tailed drongo that is a little bit like Brent in the morning. There's lots to say and very, very, very chirpy indeed. So these little fork-tailed drongos are sitting, and it looks like a fairly young bird. You can see a bit of its down feathers still sticking out around the wing areas. So maybe that's why it's talking so much, is it's trying to just attract the attention of its parents and kind of get some sort of food out of them. Although you would expect a different type of call for food. This is more just a territorial situation. Oh, what happened there? It kind of stopped halfway through its call. Very cool though. Now, normally with drongos, they're quite quiet birds. They kind of fly around and we see them hawking insects a lot of the time, but we very seldom actually see them sitting and calling so nicely for us. That's very cool. It's not every day that we get to sit with them like this. They're normally quite shy. I mean, this bird is very close. It's not even 2 meters from where we are. And it's having a full song. I suppose it is that time of the morning when it's time to tell everybody that you are here and kind of welcome the sunrise. Shame, no one's responding though. Ooh, Siberia's Jumi. I don't actually know how many birds the Drongo can imitate. I think it obviously would be dependent on where that Drongo occurs and the number of bird species that it's trying to fool that live around it. But I mean, I've heard them they don't mimic everybody, but I've heard them mimic 3 or 4 different birds before in this area. But I suppose they could have a repertoire of more. I'm not sure. Maybe Brent will know. We'll have to ask Brenty if he knows. I don't have a clue as to exactly how many birds they've been recorded as mimicking. But in this area, I've only ever heard them mimic 3 or 4 different individuals. I've never really heard them go beyond that, and it's because they're not going to mimic birds that are grass eaters or anything like that, because that doesn't have really anything to do with them. At the end of the day, these guys are eating insects and those kind of things. And so I think it would depend on the number of insect eaters around and which kind of birds they are able to fool. Maybe some birds are cleverer than others and don't fool easy and can tell the difference between a Drongo and other birds. I personally think Drongos are not the best mimics out here. They do a fairly good job, but it's not amazing, and they don't get it right all the time, unfortunately. Oh, your call is changing. Sounds like there's another one that's actually going to start responding. There we go, it's in the distance, but there is one that is responding. Oh, funny little chap. And off it goes. Very, very cool. Right, well, our Drongo has flown off ever so delicately, and that's much like Ballerina Brent as he tiptoes through the bush. So let's go back across to him and find out if he has an answer to how many calls or how many birds a Drongo can mimic.
Well, thank you, heavy-footed Tristan. And it's a very interesting discussion about how many birds a Drongo can mimic, because I think a lot of it depends on where the Drongo is and what other birds are around. Drongos can also mimic animals. They can mimic meerkats, dwarf mongoose, but I'm trying to think of birds. I've heard them mimic pearl-spotted owlet, barred owlet, crowned eagle, white-browed robin chat. And as I say, it depends where you are. So I think the Drongos in different areas will mimic the birds that are in their areas, and so it depends. So I think if I remember vaguely in the back of my mind, I'm going to have to double check this somewhere, that they can mimic, it's been recorded mimicking about 30 species of different birds and about 5 different species of mammal. So it's quite impressive. Very, very intelligent birds and very aggressive birds. Now, they mob birds of prey much larger than themselves, and of course my favorite is their trick of tricking the meerkats. So when the meerkats find a nice little morsel of food, they mimic a meerkat alarm call for a martial eagle perfectly. It sends all the meerkats scuttling down the hole to try and not get killed by a martial eagle, and the Drongo casually comes, picks up whatever they've caught and has a free meal. But that's in the Kalahari, so I said everywhere is different depending on the species that are around them. But in the meantime, it sounds like Taylor's made her way to Chitwa Dam, so let's go see what's happening there.
We have made it here, and we're, well, having a look at our friend the African darter. It was quite cool, in fact. And I don't know why I've never seen an African darter at Chitwa Dam before. Tristan says he's seen them a few times, and Brent also said he's seen the darters down here a few times. They've just given me the slip. But wings opened, warming up for the day. Perhaps this darter has already been for an early morning swim, and we were sort of briefly touching on it the other day. So they have to physically dry their feathers. It's not like water off a duck's back or a goose's back. And unfortunately, they don't have that special oil that waterproofs their coat. But they can't have it, because when they're hunting, they're not necessarily just skimming things off the top of the surface or grazing on grass seeds out in the open. Is that they need to dive deep underneath the water in order to catch their fish. And it's pretty spectacular the way that they've done it. There's some really amazing YouTube footage, in fact, of darters swimming underwater. And they've got really, really big webbed feet that they'll use to propel themselves. and almost like a snake-like neck, which they'll shoot out. I suppose they've got a special hinge in the back of their neck, and they'll use that to, of course, with their long, big, powerful beaks, to spear fish. Now, we had a really cool sighting the other day. The first time I'd seen one here at Chitwa Dam, and Sebastian and I had got so distracted because we heard the guinea fowls alarming, so we both looked away. Seb looked away from the camera, I looked away from the monitor, and I couldn't work out what had happened to the fish, but apparently it had dropped it. And Seb said he went back and he watched the footage, and he said it looked like the fish was actually wedged on the tip of its bill, and it couldn't get it loose, so it's not like it dropped it on purpose. I think it was just trying to sort of move it around slightly, get a better grip on it, try and get it into position so that it could swallow. Remember, we were talking about how they have to swallow the fish head first, and then it lost it. I don't know why it didn't dive in and go back after it. That fish would have either been dead or at least injured, so I'm pretty sure it could have just gone in and gone back after it. Perhaps it wasn't that hungry. Maybe it thought it needed to watch its figure and drop the fish back off. Although, they don't need to do that. Tally, you said that this is bird number 223 on your bird list. Congratulations. I know for those of you that are in the 200s now, it's starting to get more and more tricky to add birds to the list, so that's quite a cool one. Ali and I were actually talking about it, like how we should be seeing lots of egrets around here. We should be seeing darters and cormorants and all sorts of things. And it's just quite funny how we don't. And then just down below us, there's actually a water thickening on the edge of the bank. We'll see what sort of birds we can see today. Hello. You should be getting ready to go to bed now. These creatures are typically nocturnal. Oh, there's another one that's popped out. Maybe they're going to head towards more of a shady spot now. And that's where they'll do it. If you just look very carefully in some of the trees that are overhanging near the water's edge, you'll find lots and lots of birds. Little crakes, although they don't mind the sun too much. And then, of course, and then the water thickneys. Who else have we got? I'm going to try and find that juvenile the juvenile greenback heron, because I want to see it fishing and catching sticks again. That was quite funny the other day as it was doing that. Should we go around, Craig? I think so. I think we can go around. What's happening here? Oh, it's a hippo. My goodness. That hippo propelled about 20 meters in less than a second. That was incredible. The way it pushed through the water like that, my goodness. It must have bounced with its feet onto the ground and then pushed itself forward. You know what you used to do as a kid in the pool? I think that's what happened there. Very nice. Well, we'll try and follow the bubbles of that hippo and see where it takes us. Tristan is still trying to track that male leopard.
Well, so no, we haven't quite gotten back to that area yet. We were enjoying our little Drongo, and then we were having a little drive, and we saw some warthogs that, of course, did not want to be our friends at all and ran away. Maybe they could smell all the lions in the area and decided the best to avoid us altogether. But it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. There's cloud cover now, but it's starting to break up a little bit and starting to change, where it seems as though the sun's going to start peeking out. It'll be really nice if we can get a little bit of sunshine at some point. Now, we're going to take Mendoza Road. I know Taylor drove here yesterday, and I know the tracks for Hukamuri are on Zoe's, but I want to just double check and make sure he didn't come back this way and cross out quickly. And also, I just like this road, and so maybe we'll see some other things as we go along. It's always nice just to meander down this road. It's interesting because it's a different kind of part of the reserve and a bit of a different sort of terrain. It's got a lot of beautiful marulas as well, some nice termite mounds. You often find nice birds here as you go along, so that's kind of the plan, is hopefully we'll see some birdies. Hopefully we'll get something of interest. Seb's normally good luck on this road. If I drive with Seb, I remember Seb when we had Shadow and the Cub. Yes, that's right. Actually, talking of Shadow and the Cub, this is a good place to go look for her. We'll check the southern boundary, and you never know. Maybe she's going to pop out after this long absence that we've had and this long hiatus without Shadow and the little one. Hopefully she's, wherever they've gone, have decided to kind of pitch up again at some point. But we're going to just check and see. I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence with Shadow and Cub at the moment. I just hope that there's some sort of sign of her in the next couple of weeks. But what we do have is congregating bee eaters. So there's European bee eaters that are busy flying away from us, and they're all kind of coming together because they're going to start migrating back north. It's a bit of a sad time of the year. I hate when all of our summer birds start leaving us, but that's a big flock of European bee eaters that is busy flying off. They were all on this dead tree, and they got a bit of a fright from us, and they're now going that way. So they get into these big groups like that, and then they start to migrate northwards once again. But I was saying with Shadow, I mean, I just don't know if it's another kind of situation with Shongile and Karula where, you know, it's just a female that's kind of disappeared from her normal area. And yes, she might be on Hoffman's laying low, but I don't know if nobody would have seen her in the amount of time that it is. So it's just kind of a bit concerning when you think about it like that. And hopefully she will sort of show up somewhere. I suppose these leopards are mysterious creatures, and if we look at somebody like Hukumuri, then the distance he's done and the places he's traveled, I suppose anything is possible out here, and you never really can tell. The other interesting one that is, I suppose, similar to Hukumuri is Sakani. Now, so a lot of you might not know who Sakani is. Sakani was the daughter of Kwatile, who was the daughter of Intima, and they used to be a lineage down on the southern side of Hoffman's and Vessel's little Gari area. And Sakani, she was around here for quite some time. In fact, she was seen even on some of the drives on Juma, and then now she gets seen around an area called south of Skakuza, which is from here is quite a long way away. It's not quite as far as Hukumuri moved, but it is pretty far nonetheless, and that's for a young female. So anything is possible, I suppose, with leopards. You can never write them off or write them out in any way. They could appear in any place at any time. It's very seldom that you see it from a older individual. So, Shadow being 11 or 12 years, you wouldn't really see her generally distributing out of her territories, but maybe with her cub being under threat, she's pushed a little further south and has gone into that kind of right into this north sort of western corner of Mala and southern side of Hoffman's, which is a difficult area. There's big steep drainage lines there, and I suppose she could be in those sections and just moving about there, waiting for everything to settle and for her little one to kind of go off on its own before she comes back up into this area. The problem with that is she runs the risk of losing territory, because she's going to have a situation where Shadulu is going to keep pushing more and more. You're going to have obviously Tandy roaming around, and so she's away for a long period. She's losing a lot of her kind of areas that she had previously. So hopefully she'll make an appearance. You never know. Maybe today's the day. Feels like shadow weather. Gary asking with all the lines about, do we think the leopards have left? Well, no, not really. I mean, yesterday we had Tingana and Kuchava, and they were around, and I'm pretty sure Hosanna is milling about. It's part of life for them. They know that there's lions around, and they might just go a little bit in the opposite direction. But I've also seen situations where leopards see lions in the distance and they just watch them very, very carefully, but they don't actually run away too much. As long as they can see them, they're okay. So I don't think our leopards are going to depart the scene, because lions have been around, and lions have been around for most of their lives, and so they just kind of have to deal with it and move about. But sometimes can make things quiet for a day or two if there's been a big lion fight, maybe, but otherwise I think they'll still be around. So typically male leopards will travel much further than females. Like I say, case in point is Hukumuri, and there's also another male that was in this area called Matimba, that was Safari's last son, and he went up towards Ingala and became the dominant male up there. I think they called him Fountains Tom, I think is what his name was. And that straight line from here was over 50 kilometers away. We've seen with Hukumuri that he's done over 200 kilometers. And with Sandile, when he was collared, we saw that he pushed right down past Skakuza and into the Kruger National Park as well. And so, it's a situation where these guys, the males, will move a lot more. Generally, females will eke out an existence very close to their mother's territory or their natal territory, and then they'll slowly but surely try and expand it. But every now and then you'll get a female that will travel a little bit and she'll head further, but it's generally the males that distribute it much more than what the females do, and typically they set up territories much closer to home than what the boys do. It's not always the case, though. Like I say, they don't read a book and they don't get into a situation where they, know exactly what's going on. They just do what is ever is natural and whatever allows them to survive. Good. Now we're coming to the area where I last had tracks for hukumuri. So I'm going to look around here. While I do that, I believe Taylor has got a big friend that is not blowing bubbles in the water, but her bubble trail has led her to something interesting anyway.
No, not blowing bubbles in the water just yet. And that's our big little friend. It's not quite an enormous elephant bull, but he's getting there. I'm sure it's the same one-tusked elephant bull that we've been seeing that's been around Juma for quite some time. We've seen him here at Chitwa before too. He just moves around on this area. So he's just got the tusk on the right-hand side. He looks very familiar. He's seriously got some swag in his step, though. You should have seen the way he came marching down to the dam. He even got all the hippos' attention. All the little ones that come closer to the water's edge as if to say, oh, what's going on here? There's one. There are actually a whole lot there. And, of course, it's just going underneath the water. So it's a different feel at Chitwa Dam this morning. Nice, calm, not too much chatter going on. The birds are still waking up. The sun pokes its head out every now and then. But it's really, really quite quiet, which is refreshing, because sometimes, my goodness, like last night, there was just so much going on. I didn't know where to look, but between being chased around by the two herds of elephants that didn't seem to like one another, and all the hippos trying to come out of the water, me accidentally blocking their pathways, and being sort of revved by them, and then eaten by the mosquitoes, and the stink bugs trying to find their way down my shirt and into my mouth. It was so fabulous. It was so nice. It was all too much. Talk about ticking lots of emotions off in one go. So I don't think he's going to go in for a swim. He doesn't look like he's in that mood to get his feet wet. I mean, he barely put his toes in this morning. And normally elephants don't mind at all. They'll go right deep into the water to have a drink. And you can see there are lots of insects still around this morning. The tail and those ears are working overtime. He's not doing that because we're here. He doesn't seem to be too bothered by us at all. Woo! Hello, Prima, who is a new viewer, and you're wondering if this is a live broadcast. No, we're just that good, and I'm just teasing, of course. Yes, this is happening right now. It is currently 1 minute after 7 a.m. Central African time. We are sitting at Chitwa Dam. I am sitting with an elephant, and this is really nice. This is how I get to spend my morning. I'm Taylor, in case you haven't got a clue who I am, and behind the camera bringing you all those amazing shots of the wildlife is Craig, and we're about to be bombarded by swifts and swallows and all sorts of things. They're all just taking off at the moment, flying around. Quite cool. Come here, come and get the insects. Please. No, they're going. They're actually not even staying at the dam. They're off now, elsewhere. Our elephant's still having a bit of a drink. I really wish one of those little hippos would come right up to that hippo. Not to the hippo, to the elephant. Because I think... Oh, it is too. Look, there is one, Craig. There's bravery. Go on, go and see. Because he's a cheeky young elephant too. So I'm hoping that he'll take a couple of steps into the water. No, don't turn away just yet. Look what's coming towards you. The hippos are coming in. It's coming right out of the water. No, I don't think it's going to be brave enough. Look. That's one of those tiny little potamuses that we see playing around every now and then on the island. There's the other one, pushing it, saying, oh, you go knock on the door. They are funny. They're going to get reprimanded by Mom any minute. I wonder if this elephant knows that he's being stalked by a pod of young hippos. Very close. Well done, little ones. Look, it's still going. I'm going to get you. Not giving up just yet. Kick, kick, kick. That hippo can't be even a year old yet. It's still only a few months. So here we go. The hippo flapped its ears and it went straight under. I don't know if it's going to come up and get any closer. I think it might actually turn back and go back towards the rest of the pod. Perhaps that was too much excitement for that little one. Let's see. They can hold their breaths for a little while. Let's see. Oh, no. Not brave enough this morning, but that was quite funny to see. It go after that big elephant anyways. And I mean, a little hippo like that is really just curious and wants to know what this big grey giant is and why it's not in the water with it. Why does it have an extra leg coming out of its face? I bet that's all the things that it's wondering about. Well, Brent, of course, is tracking and trying to unfold the mysteries from last night. Let's go and see what he's circled now.
Well, it seems every time we start looking for leopard, we find more lion tracks. Now, we've got the tracks of the 3 Avoca males, and I've never seen them before, so I'm quite excited. And I'm just going to show you how big that male lion footprint is, and he's still got a bit of growing to do. So, I mean, almost the size of my hand. And, oh, Dave, ground hornbill. And another thing was everything's happening here. I just had a brief visual of Fang's herd crossing from Buffelshoek into Juma. So we're going to see if we can find the eddies. Where the ground hornbill landed. Let's go here. Let's go to where Herbie is. And we will see the ground hornbill in the tree. It's going to be a tough one for Dave. Handheld, long lens. But I think it's going to fly shortly, so let's have a look. You see him, Davy? Now, these lion tracks are very, very, very fresh. And, oh no, he flew off. Sorry, Dave. Now, let's just see if we can get a quick view of Fang's herd. They crossed the road just below us here. Ah, come here, Dave. Look at that. Now, even an animal the size of an elephant, it can almost disappear. You can just see the tusks through the bush there. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? You got them. You just see the white of the tusk flashing as it's feeding. Okay, let's sneak a bit closer. Imagine we could have lions and elephants in the same spot. Oh, Dave. No! It's flying. There was another ground hornbill sitting right next to us. I didn't see it till the last second. There's more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ground hornbills in total. Okay, there's so much to see here. It's all happening on the Buffelshoek boundary. Let's try to see if we can get a... Oh, they're going to fly again, following the other one. But let's try see if we can get a visual of Fang on foot. Have we ever seen Fang on foot? Let me know. Hashtag Safari Live. I've seen her while tracking, but I've never seen Fang on bushwalk as such. I can see... Fang's herd's very big, so that's why I'm going very, very slowly. I don't want to get a surprise by a straggler. This is very exciting. We're sneaking up to Ellie's on foot. There could be lions in the area. Lions I've never seen before. Ground hornbills flapping about. So we're just trying to have a look here. Watch out, Darby, there's some rocks. Is that Fang there? No, that's not Fang. I saw her just cross the road as we were walking down, but from quite a long way away. See, I said, well, we've got to walk carefully. Stragglers, it's a big herd. There's a car coming as well. Let's move off the road, just in case the car, which is a management vehicle, gives the Ellies a bit of a fright. Doesn't see them, they're hiding behind a bush. Now, what I'm trying to do is there are not many big termite mounds in this area. So what I'm going to try to do is get down to one of those trees there and keep ourselves nice and behind the trees. Now, with approaching a big breeding herd of elephants, you've got to be far more cautious than if we were walking up to an elephant bull. But I'm quite confident that even that they're not going to see us. There's almost zero wind. So there's lots of different ways to check the wind if you don't have an ash bag without having dust. One of the other ways is to grab some grass. And you can see slight breeze in our favor. Okay, So while I sneak closer to these elephants, we're going to go back to Tristan for a little while, who's got some antelope who are hiding in a bush.
Well, yes, I suppose hiding somewhat. They're a little bit exposed, aren't they? But they are the most beautiful animals. So we've got two of probably the nicest specimen of kudu that we've got out here. They both have incredibly beautiful big horns and as big as any kudu that we'd probably see. So nice to see them. I always like seeing male kudus, and they haven't been around too much in the last few months, so it's always good to see them. And you can see how alert they are. They often just turn their heads, they perk up their ears, and they listen to what's going on, and they'll try and use those massive ears to pick up if there's any sign of anything. And there's clearly not too much going on because they're both moving in exactly the direction that they turn their heads. I wonder if there's not a third one somewhere around here. And that's just tucked up in the bush. Now that one's got different horns. You can see they're very close together. Most of the time you'll see kudu's horns, particularly the males, go quite wide, whereas these guys are quite narrow and close together, but still amazing set of horns that they've got. It's so impressive when you get to see these big male kudus. You kind of forget just how big those horns can get and just how amazingly impressive they actually are. Very, very cool to see. Like I say, I haven't been seeing too many kudus of late, so it's always good when you get these males. You can see the males also a lot more grey in coloration than what the females are. The females tend to be that almost sort of brownish beige colour, whereas these guys get a much more deep grey to them. And very common to see them in these small bachelor groupings like this. Yvette, you say these kudu are a lovely colour. They are, aren't they? Like I was saying, they're kind of this greyish blue colour. And you find with actually eland, which is part of the same family, they also get that bluish tinge to them. And it's a very, very pretty colour. It works incredibly well for the habitat that these guys spend time in. So when they go into these thickets, that grey coloration really does blend in. But also what you can see from that angle, look how wide that animal's neck is. They've got massively powerful necks in comparison. And it's almost wider than their shoulders, which is to be able to keep those horns up and to be able to keep that head up. Because obviously weighs quite a bit when you've got bone fused to the skull like that. Now, Christina, you're asking how old these males are. Difficult to say for sure. 100%, because obviously there's genetic factors involved, and some will get bigger horns than others, but generally you can use the twirls in their horn structure, and so you can see that this individual's got its third kind of twist going. So I would say probably this male that we're looking at now is between, I would say, 5-6 years old, somewhere around there. It might be a little bit less or a little bit more. It's just a kind of rough judge that you use for it, but I'd say about 5 or 6. The other male looked like he might have been a little bit older, a little bit bigger. You can't see him anymore, so difficult to 100% confirm, but he might be about sort of 6, 7, maybe in that area as well. But it's very nice to see. It's always good when we get to see kudus around. So we've come to Treehouse Dam as well, because we were hoping to try and see if maybe Hukamuri was lying up somewhere here, or there was some signs of him in this area. So far, nothing that I can find. I'm going to do a bit of a loop around just to check. We've only got our present guinea fowl, which are, well, taking it very easy this morning there, and surprisingly enough have been quite quiet, which is very odd for guinea fowl because they normally make quite a bit of a noise, but they've been quite quiet this morning, and they've had a little drink and enjoyed themselves around the water, and because they're quiet, it typically would mean that there's very little sign of a predatory cat. They normally are the first ones to make a lot of noise if any of the cats are about, so I'm pretty sure that it's all quite quiet around here. Also, those tracks for Hukamuri are not very fresh at all. You have a situation where you've got these lines on top of those Hukamuri tracks. Right, now this is very exciting. It sounds like Brent Leo Smith has tracked down and maybe has found the Avoca boys.
So we just had a brief visual of one of the Avoca male lions, and we're going to take you in very, very, very slowly and carefully in. We moved away so as not to scare them, but so I might not talk too much, but we're going to try to sneak up on these 3 new male lions. So just a brief visuals, so let's go. This is very exciting. You'll see there's vultures in the tree over there, so that's where the Nkuhumas had the kill, just across our boundary, and the lions are right on the boundary, so we're going to go very, very carefully. wind's perfectly in our favor. Okay, Dave, I'm going to go carefully over here. Okay, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to do an action broadcast. Let our friends on Facebook join us as well before we go any further. Herbie's really excited, he wants to go. Watch your feet, Dave. Welcome everyone, we are live in the African bush. We've just had a brief visual of a male lion. We think there are 3 of them, so we're going to go try and sneak up to them. I'm going to be quite quiet while we're doing this, but please send your questions in, and after we've had a look at them, I'll answer them. So isn't this exciting? 100% live from the Sabi Sands in South Africa, tracking male lions on foot. So we've been following their tracks for about half an hour. I just heard a growl. Now they could have some meat there. We're not sure. So we're just going to go this way carefully. So we spotted them from about 60, or no, a bit more, about 80 meters or so. But we moved away so you could join us as we find these lions properly on foot. We're not going to get too close. So these are new male lions that have moved into the area. They've just been chasing our resident pride around. So I think this is probably one of the first times they've been walked here. So we're going very, very carefully because we don't know how they were going to react. They might not have been walked often before. They're about between 3 and 4 years old. And they've just moved into the area. So there's a nice prominent termite mound that we're going to use to approach, and I think they're probably about 50 meters on the other side of that. Kayleen's wondering how close can I get without them coming towards me. I'm more worried about them running away, Kayleen. During the day, human beings are the dominant predator, and it's very seldom that lions charge, maybe once in 100. So I'm more worried about disturbing them and them running away than them charging me. That termite mound. So it's very important to keep your eyes up and focused, because they could have moved since we last saw them. Let's go slowly up here. get a view through there, so we're going to go back around. Well, what we're trying to do is get a gap through the bush. Is in front of me. He's our game scout. And he's here to keep us safe, just in case. And we're more worried about the elephants that are around than the lions. Okay, so there's a little ravine here. And they were just up it, so I think this is going to be our best chance, because that Juma mount didn't work. Now, Ryan is wondering if I've seen these males before. Sorry, I'm just going to try to stop a car. So are we walking on foot? I don't want them to disturb the lions. So we saw them just in here. There. Is that a lion? There's a lion's foot. It's fast asleep. I'm just going to let the car come past. You see that white thing there in the bush, Dave? That is a lion. I'll try to get a better view now. But there we go. It's fast asleep. Is it behind the tree? Okay, I'm just going to let the car come past us. It's one of the game rangers' cars that are doing the anti-poaching. Hi. Sorry, we're live and the lions are right here. The three males. Yeah, they're just over here. Cheers. Okay. Dave, let's try from a little bit further down. There we go. You can actually see his ear flicking here. This lion has no idea. We're about 40 meters away from it. You can see him fast asleep there. So my main aim is not to disturb them, because they're new in the area and we don't know how they're going to react on foot. So we'll try to get you a better view, but when you're tracking big game on foot, this is almost your perfect outcome. You find the animals, they don't know you're there, and then what we'll probably do now is call one of our game drive vehicles in. The lions are a lot more relaxed around game drive vehicles, and let them come view them and they can get closer. But we are going to try to get you one last better look. We'll walk very slow, quietly. Kylie's wondering, am I feeling nervous? No, Kylie, I'm excited. I live for this type of stuff. Very, very exciting. This is the first time I've seen these males. We want to walk very softly. The wind's still perfectly in our favor. We might not get a better view, but it's worth having a try. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to call one of our game drive vehicles to come in. There he is. So there we go. Fast asleep. No idea we're here. This is the best outcome you can have for tracking an animal on foot. So before we disturb them and they become aware of our presence, I'm going to move. Let's move quickly, Dave. Oh, you got him? Okay, we don't want to disturb the lions. We're just going to move behind this bush where they can't see us. That's how you do it. I absolutely am thrilled to do that. Thank you for joining us. Tracking big cats live in the Sabi Sand, South Africa on Juma Private Game Reserve. My name's Brent. I'm very happy, and it's the first time I've seen them. And keep watching the show. If you want to watch the show, just pop onto YouTube, type in Safari Live. You'll find us there, and also keep a lookout for those live notifications on Facebook. But for now, to our Facebook viewers, goodbye. Hope I see you on YouTube. Ah, here we go, guys. How amazing is that? My first view of the Avoca males on foot. And I know Fang's herd's close by, so that's my next mission. Well, good morning in the office, I'd say. Not too shabby. Well, let's sneak by and see if we can have another look. They look quite relaxed. I just don't want to disturb them. The wind is perfectly in our favor, blowing straight from them to us. We're no more than 40 meters from them. And you can see they've got very fat bellies. So the Nkuhuma's buffalo kill was very close to here last night. So all that pandemonium we heard was them chasing the Nkuhuma's off that buffalo. You can see two. There is a third, but we can't see it on foot. But there's the one lying closest to us, and then on the other side of that fallen log, there is another one. Okay, well, we're going to move off now. Call Tristan, let the lions relax. While we do that, let's go across to Taylor and some Ellies.
Well, we've got, as you can see, 2 young elephant bulls. I don't think I need to even tell you that. And they've decided that they're going to play on top of my car. Like right on top of the car. But they're young boys, so they mean no harm whatsoever. You can see my hat for 2 seconds. They're just rough and tumbling right now. They're fairly young. I don't even quite think they're in their 20s yet. Probably around 14, 15 years old. Look at them. Here they come out the side now. Down they go. And one on the left's definitely got leverage as he's pushing his fellow mate downhill. That's not very nice. Slow down. Oh, he's going to go straight into the back of that log. He put the brakes on. He's got the handbrake up now. So that's why I said they mean no harm. Oh no, he's going to try to trip him. Robert, you said the elephants are your absolute favorite. It's no secret they're my favorite too, and it is hilarious to watch them push one another. Look at them, didn't even care about that log. They just walked straight over it. I think might have to go. Oh, we'll see. We'll see. It's awkward now. Let's see if the one on the right manages to push his friend back up again. Straight into the next set of trees now. And of course, this is nothing serious. This is them just practicing for one day when they actually are able to mate with the females, and they will be competing properly with the big 5-ton elephants. And watch how they just disappear too into those bushes, into the change room. Oh no! He tried to do an ambush attack. Well, there's all sorts of strange noises coming from them. Now they're going to fight in the bushes. That's real Jurassic Park scene now. I think the one that was being bullied is getting a bit sick and tired of the other one's antics and saying, just, for goodness sake, just leave me alone. I just want to eat. He does look a bit annoyed, hey? As if to say, right, I'm not playing anymore. You know what it's like. Kids push and shove one another until one falls over and scrapes their knee, and then there's tears. Oh, okay. That's a dominance display, everybody, that we're looking at right now. And it's typically what male animals will do to one another to show that I'm bigger and stronger than you. I can pin you down, basically. So I think that's why the other one went in there, to try and put the trees between them, literally. Okay, let's go down. Let's go. I think we should just stick with them. I think it will be quite funny to watch these 2 boys go about their morning. So we were with the hippos. And I'll have to show you some pictures because they were being really, really quite cute. All the little ones were at the edge of the water, basically doing what they were trying to do to the elephant earlier. They came right up close and opening their mouths. They have no teeth, just gums and tongue. It was quite cool. Hey, One Tusk Wonder, are you happy you found a friend now? Watch, he'll probably come and say hello to me as well. Hi, big boy. Oh, you're so strong. Not really. Well, he is. He's much stronger than I am. Let me boost his ego a little bit. Still got a lot of growing to do, boys. I'm actually picking up on the scents now of a herd of elephants, a breeding herd that came through here yesterday, and that's what he's just done. He's actually put his trunk down on urine, which you can still see wet on the floor. Touching it, smelling it. And then he'll put his trunk in his mouth, and he'll be able to tell all sorts of different things. The age of that elephant, probably its social status as well, whether it's a male or a female. Is she an estrus? Is it a must bull? To me that looks like it's probably from a cow. He's trying to sneak out. Run quickly while you've got a chance. I think he is going to try and make an escape. I don't think he wants to play with this other elephant. So that fence that you can see is just the elephant wire, stopping the elephants from going into Chitwa. Although if they wanted to, they could quite easily push it down. Oh, here we go. The chase is on again. Yes, big boy. He's casually walking past us, pretending like I don't know that he's there. This is lovely. Right, reposition again. I might just follow these elephants around for the whole morning. Shall we see if we can join in? Shall I jump on there and try and hold one in a headlock? Hey, Craig, what do you think you'll do? Oh, okay, so Craig says he'll just film it. He says I must definitely get involved. Okay, cool. I'll go pull that elephant's tail and then see what he does. Of course, I'm not going to do this. For those of you that are watching, please do not get out of your car when you go on a safari. Please remain inside your vehicle. I was, of course, just joking. We don't touch the wild animals. I might go up top. They tried to intimidate me earlier by standing on top of the termite mound and towering down on me. I'll do the same to them, but from up here. Of course, they don't care about me. I think if that other young elephant bull didn't show up, our One Tusk Wonder probably would have played some games with us, which should have been quite cool. So we'll definitely hang around here with these young fellas, and well, hopefully they'll provide us with some entertainment. Tristan has managed to get into that lion sighting.
Well, there's no view of the lions whatsoever. They've gotten up and moved. So I don't know if maybe when Brent and them pulled out of the sighting and walked out, that these guys decided to move. But we had a brief glimpse of one walking away, and I can't see any of the others. So I don't think we're actually going to get this right. I'll try and kind of reposition and try and check around and see. But there was one that was kind of hanging about, but has now moved by the looks of things. Sandy, I have no idea if the Avoca males are all brothers. We don't know. I don't know much about them at all. So all I know is that they come from the Timbavati and that they are young males that have moved into this area. But I have no idea whether they are related, if they're all from the same litter. I mean, obviously they are related, but I don't know if they're all from the same litter. So the last time we had a visual was there at that fallen over stump, and this male walked a little bit closer towards us. Bless you, Seb. Seb's busy choking at the back there. On a what was it, a cashew or a pecan or what was it? Almond. Seb is choking on an almond. So maybe his choking might attract the lions, but that's where they were. We just saw a male just walk from that stump towards the right-hand side, but I can't find anything now exactly where they are. So let's just try and check once more. It kind of looked like he was angling towards the boundary, so maybe he just walked behind the bush and just flopped down there. They might be a little nervous after seeing people on foot, and so they're just kind of trying to find themselves a little thicket. Just trying to see which bush it was. Right, now I'm going to try and see if we can get a view of these guys. I don't know if we're going to, but we'll try our very best. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor McCurdy and see what those little cheeky elephant bulls are up to.
They've actually parted way now, Tristan. Also, good luck on the relocation process there. If anybody can do it, you can. Finally, our friend in the corners has managed to get away from the big bully this morning, and they're happily feeding in opposite directions. I'm sure they'll join up again. I would imagine that they're going to make their way back down towards Chitwa Dam, and perhaps they'll have a little swim. Now, Cecilia, you're wondering if elephants grow their tusks back if they lose one. Cecilia, it kind of depends. So if they lose their entire tusks, so they lose the nerve endings as well, then no. Then, unfortunately, that's done for that tusk. But you see, the tusk is growing at the base out. So sometimes they can chip a tusk, but of course it's still going to get longer because the nerves and the base of the tusk is not damaged. So it's, if you look at your fingernails, for an example, that's kind of the way that it grows. So it's just getting longer and longer. So as long as the nerves are not damaged, you'll be fine. They are going to the water. Let's quickly go and grab a better spot. Did you see, as the younger one, the one that was being bullied, started walking towards the water, this older fella's like, oh no, this is my watering hole. I will tell you when you can go and drink. And he's chasing behind him. And I think that we could get some cool splish-splashing around this morning, just because he is a big bully, and probably push him on in, whether he wants to go in the water or not. Oh, there's a crocodile as well. But I just want to get up ahead of them and get a nice spot. We get the perfect light. Where would you like to go, elephant? You're going to go in there. I suppose I better give them right away, hey? Can you show them the crocodile very quickly, Craig? Can you see it? And the other crocodile is near the island. I saw it submarining quite close. That's not Snappy from last night, but Snappy is around there somewhere. This is where we had it. There we go. Oh, I think they might be going back to the same place. Perhaps those little hippos will be brave enough now to really take on these elephants. This could get quite nice. There they go, all passing Chitwa Dam. Imagine you decided to not go on a safari this morning. You were just lounging, like this, on your deck chair in your gown and your white slippers, enjoying a cup of tea or coffee, having elephants pass you by. Amazing. Literally life goals one day. Well, I get to do this all the time. I just don't get to do the lounging on my chair and my gown and my slippers. So like I said, got to work hard now. I'm deciding. Sorry, Craig. I'm making Craig do a lot of leveling today. Luckily, he's so quick at it, though. There you go. Quickly quench your thirst, because you're not going to get a chance now. You're going to get pushed on in the water, I know it. Well, I haven't seen the little hippos coming in yet either. Here comes MacBully Pants. Be nice. It's like he's standing right at the edge of the pool. And he's just going to give his friend a gentle nudge. Whether you can call them friends, I'm not so sure. Perhaps just companions. For the moment. I think it's a temporary companionship. Rebecca, I'm so sorry. Please can I have that again? I didn't quite hear you properly. I wasn't listening very well. Benyu, you're wondering if elephants swim to gulp water rather than using their trunks. I've actually never seen an elephant just gulp water with its mouth, except a very young elephant that hadn't quite trained its trunk just yet. But as you can imagine, it's quite difficult to get the use of all those muscles. It takes a little bit of time. So adult elephants just swim because they love swimming and it cools them down, and I bet they feel as light as a feather in the water. Which is something I don't think they feel while they're on land. So they typically will suck the water up into their trunks and then squirt it back into their mouth. He's trying to get away, blocking him. Okay, now little elephant on the left. Turn round, or come up a bit higher, and then just reverse in. And push him into the water. Shame. Character building. Pickle, you said that these guys are definitely frenemies. He's even having to try and swat him with his tail. You don't stick your trunk where it doesn't belong. Thank you very much. He's such a bully. And this is exactly why they get kicked out of the herd. Is because they do this. He's very excited, this young fella. Oi, behave. Leave your friend alone. Stand on his trunk and then he won't be able to do anything. That's what I would do. He's getting pushed around now. Not having any of it. All the dust being kicked up now. Oh no, into the water they go. Whee! Up he goes. Steady. Very frisky this morning. Can imagine all those hormones raging through their bodies, but there's nothing they could do about it. Absolutely nothing. Run away! Run away, elephant! Quickly, come this side. I'll tell him off for you. It's like he does. He's come looking at us going, help me! Help me, please! Tell him to stop. I think I would actually just go into the water and swim across Chitwa Dam to get away from him. He's being a very bossy boots. Now off they go again. Chasing all the birds away as they go along. Like I said, he might be a little bit more excited than just trying to show dominance this morning. Let's be honest. All the children that are watching, you're welcome to ask Mom and Dad what's going on. Mario, you said you're very confused and you're wondering if these are two boys. They're two very young males. So what's happened is that both of them have been kicked out of their breeding herd, so they're no longer a part of the family anymore. And this kind of behavior is exceptionally normal. Yes, there we go. I would have jumped into the deep water ages ago. And this young male that's trying to mount this other boy, this is what he would have been trying to do with all the females, but the females will only want to mate with the biggest and the strongest of males. And they just basically put their foot down, and being much larger than him, they chase him out, and it's quite a traumatic experience. Then they typically meet up with another young male in sort of a similar situation, kind of like these two boys are in now, and they'll push and shove each other, practicing for when they need to start, well, fighting other big bulls in the area for the cows that have come into estrus. But sometimes I suppose your hormones just take over and you can't help yourself. Normally when they mount one another like that, it's a dominance display to say that I'm bigger and stronger than you. But he did look exceptionally excited this morning. And there was a case in the Pilanesberg, funny enough, which is a reserve just outside Johannesburg, where young elephant bulls like this were actually trying to mount rhinos, white rhinos, and ended up breaking their backs. So it was a huge problem. This was maybe 10 to 12 years ago, at least. Maybe even, no, about that time, maybe 10 years ago. I remember I was in high school when it was happening. And what they had to do is they had to introduce big Kruger bulls, big Kruger, massive elephant bulls, tuskers, because there were no big elephants there to put these youngsters in their place. And eventually they introduced, I can't remember how many, there is lots of information about it on the interweb. You can welcome to go and search because it was quite interesting. And they eventually sorted the youngsters out and there was never a problem again. So we just need a big elephant bull to come on through around here and give that fella with the one tusk a bit of a hiding. Somebody like Daryl could come in and sort him out very quickly, and would give him such a hiding that he'd probably never want to do anything like that ever again. But this is the ways of life with wild animals. I must be honest, I was cackling very silently. I was holding my breath so that you didn't hear me laughing, because sometimes it's quite funny to watch. You feel sorry for that younger bull. But anyways, we'll watch them now swim. They seem to be friends again. And off we go to Brent. He's on a tracking mission.
Well, it seems like everywhere I go, I find lion tracks. So there's tracks of the Nkuhumas here. Now, we could only see 2 Avoca males when we were on foot there. Now, I've got a third track, well, maybe the third male has abandoned those 2 at the buffalo carcass. But look at that, he's running. Now, it could be from much earlier during the fight, but you can see it's running because the edges of the tracks are indistinct. And you could also see the size of his gains. Look at this. He's going to go right from here all the way. Boom. Boom. So he's moving at speed, this male lion. And you can see that track is almost complete. You can't even see the toes clearly. So he's running at speed. So I think this is probably from earlier when they were chasing the Nkuhumas. But our plan now is we were actually hoping not to find any more lion tracks, but to find tracks of Tandy and the cub. So we're going to check down Drakensberg, and then we're going to duck through this big thick block where she often leaves the cub, and then come out on Quarry Pan Road, and then maybe, if we have enough time, head towards Buffels Hook Dam to see if there's any sign of them around there. But at the moment we're just going to check carefully, see if Tandy's tracks come out here. But it sounds like Tristan is gone to look for those Avocas, but they might have moved, so he could be looking at grass, or he could be looking at a lion. Let's go find out.
Well, they have moved a little bit, but we have found the top of one's head. So they moved ever so slightly, a little bit kind of to the east of where Brent had them, and they're lying in some very long grass, although this one is probably the one that's lying a little bit further to the west and close to where Brent actually saw them. So there's just the one that's kind of poking its head up. The other 2 seem as though they've gone a little bit more in an easterly direction. Maybe they're heading back towards that buffalo. It's difficult to say. I mean, can't really see too much of what's going on there. My other 2 might be lying right there as well, but we have at least got some sort of a view of them at this stage, and hopefully they'll get up at some point, and then we'll at least be able to see them up and moving. Nice to have different male lions. It's going to certainly throw a bit of interest into the mix, and going to make life quite interesting in terms of what's going on with our dynamics. And these guys are still very young though, so the Birminghams would definitely have the edge if they came into this area. These guys don't even have proper manes yet to speak of, and so the Birminghams would ultimately, I'm sure, chase these guys quite quickly. But amazing camouflage, isn't it? You would never know that there's 3 male lions lying right there unless they pop their heads up. If they put their heads down and just kind of watch you through the grass, you would really struggle to be able to find those lions. So that's the view that we've got, and you can see why it's difficult. And when you kind of approach animals on foot, that's when they'll pop their heads up a little bit more, and it's easier to see them. But if they stay flat, it can be seriously tough to spot lions and leopards in bush like that. And you can actually see now he's dropped his head down. We can't see anything at all. There we go. Down. So there's actually 2 there. So there's the one that just flopped, and then there's just to the back left of that one, you can see the top of another one's head. So there's 2 sitting in that general vicinity, but they really are obscured. And there's one little gap where we're standing or sitting at the moment, and that's all we've got. So it's not a very good view of the boys, but a tantalizing taste as to what could be to come and who we could be seeing a lot more of in the future. It's going to be interesting to kind of see whether or not they continue this foray southwards into Juma. It would be interesting. Anyway, remember that we would love to hear from you guys. I'd like to actually hear what your comments are about the Avoca boys being down here. Are they going to stay? Are they going to go? What do you all think? Hashtag Safari Live or YouTube chat. Give us an idea of what you think. Are they here for the long run, or are they going to be just passing through and the Birmingham's going to chase them away? And while you think about that, I'm going to send you back across to Taylor McCurdy, who is still, I think, at Chitwa and still enjoying the beauty that is around that dam.
Well, there seems to be a bit of payback going on at the moment, which is it's proving to be exceptionally entertaining. Our friend that was being bullied earlier has now turned the tables and seemed like was trying to drown the other elephant. I can't imagine why. But at one point that the one tusk wonder was trying to come up from out of the water, and the other fella just jumped on top of him as if to say, nope, I've got you now, I've got you pinned down. So it's fair game in the water. Of course, they're not trying to drown one another, they are just playing. I was just being a bit silly. But it is nice to see the tables turn and watch the other fella throw a few punches and land some of them too. There we go. So one tusk wanderer is on the left, and the poor bullied boy is on the right. He seems to be a lot more powerful in the water. Perhaps he's got some aquatic powers. This is so cool. You hear all that water? I love that sound. Also the sound of me slapping flies on my face. Tusks clashing every now and then. It always amazes me how quickly they can actually go underwater. I suppose it must be quite unlevel ground there. See, like the one on the right doesn't want to let the other one out of the water. I think he knows that he's stronger on land. Desperately trying to stop him from getting out. And down under they go. Boys, you're not in Australia. You know you're still here in SA. And they'll just play and play and play with one another until they eventually get bored. And I don't think these two will stay sort of together. I think that they will go their separate ways at some point of the day. I think they just met at the dam. Snorkeling their way around now. Must be getting a little bit deep there. Yeah, it does look quite deep in that corner. It's amazing how unlevel this is. Boy, elephants have been moved out of their favourite spot too. Not the elephants, the hippos. What's wrong with me today? All the hippos were sitting around here. And you'll see the bank. Eventually there's a little bit of a sandbar. And it gets quite shallow, which the elephants probably enjoy because they can push each other around a bit more, but the hippos like it. The water's not too deep, especially for those young calves. Now, Ashlyn, you're wondering if elephants will ever fight to the death. Yes, the answer is most certainly. I mean, I don't think it's something that's particularly very common and recorded very often. However, when I was down in the Eastern Cape, there was two big elephant bulls on a property that fought to the death. And basically what happened is the bigger fella, the more experienced fella, actually tusked the younger bull and it went straight through his ribs and, yeah, ended up puncturing a lung. And he ended up dying. So quite hectic to see that. We went and had a look at the carcass. This was years in 2012, long time ago, when I just started guiding. So it does indeed happen. But for us, I think seeing something like this is a lot more common. These youngsters sort of pushing and shoving one another around. Oh no, quickly get out of there. Get to the shallows. Desperately trying to find his feet again. Saber-toothed pigeons flying over. That ha 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 that you were hearing. Couple of hippos not impressed with the elephants, announcing that to everybody around them. Ooh, right, Brent is on a roll this morning, finding all the animals, all the footprints. It seems as though he's finally figured out where Tandy has been walking.
Okay, so, well, Herbie is telling me he's got cub tracks behind me as well. But there we go. So this is Tandy's tracks. They're on top of all the lion tracks. So the Nkuhuma's, you have a look just back here. There's an Nkuhuma track heading in the opposite direction. And we know that that fight happened at about 11:30 last night when the Avoca males found them. So after probably about midnight, I would say the lions passed through here, maybe a little bit later. And now Tandy's tracks are between then and now, heading back towards the area where Dave and I had a brief visual of her yesterday on drive. So it's in that very thick area where it's very difficult to get a car. We're pretty sure the cub's still in there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get onto Tandy's tracks. There we go. Herbie's pointing. Herbie's excited. He's found something. Aha. 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 So this is actually quite a difficult one to see. Dave, can you see it? But let me show you. So here we go. That's the 3 little lobes at the back pad, and there's the toes there. So that's definitely the cub. So Tandy and the cub are here. So I know a lot of people were worried. Yours was particularly worried after those Nkumas went through. There was a lot of calling by Tandy during the day, but here we got tracks of her and the cub, so it looks like the cub is completely fine. So we're going to have to try and figure out exactly what's going on. It looks like they've headed into this really thick tangle behind us, but we're going to go in there and see if we can pull a leopard out of the bush by its tail. So that's quite exciting, and wouldn't it be quite the triumph to get lion and leopard on foot in one morning. So we're quite excited. Sorry, I forgot, I didn't hear that name, Bex, but someone was wondering whether, Jamie, if a leopard moves to another area, will they get another name? Not normally, but sometimes. It just depends on which property they move into. Normally the original name is kept, but certain properties like to rename them. Okay, you ready, Dave? Let's do this. Okay, so we're going to go quite slowly through here. So the cub track goes here, but we always just double check carefully, because cubs run around, mom, but we didn't have air. This is just lion tracks, just lion tracks, just lion tracks, only lion tracks. So we're almost certain that she's gone off down this game path here.